righty, we will kick off and let people in as they come in. So hello, and thank you for joining us for today's session, Why Software Products Make Great Business. My name is Daniel Unzueto, and I'm happy to welcome you to today's session. If this is your first time attending one of our workshops, let me provide some context on StartOut. StartOut accelerates the growth of the LGBTQ+ community to drive our economic empowerment, building a world where every LGBTQ+ entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the workforce of the future. I'm excited to introduce our host for today, Nelly Yusupova. Nelly is a co-founder and CDO of Wellbeing Inc., a leader in providing effective tools for boosting employee well-being. The floor is yours, Nelly.
Great. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And Andrea, I think I know you somehow from somewhere. You're
Go. Yeah, it's good to see you. I have a new venture in the software space, so I'm excited to be here, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, because I remember names, so I have a memory for that. So nice to see you again.
You too.
All right, so let's get this show on the road. I'm going to share my screen. Let's do this. And there is a workbook that goes along with that. Daniel, if you could drop the link for us, that would be great, where you can just download the information. And I want you to pay attention and focus on what we're going to be talking about so that you don't have to take a ton of notes. Let me just get this setup going. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Okay. Great. So my goal today is to show you how to unlock new revenue streams and scale your business, and why building a software product is the best way to do that, if that's your goal. For those of you who haven't met me, there's the link to the workbook. So go and download that while I'm doing my intro here. My name is Nelly Yusupova. I'm a CTO. I'm a startup tech advisor and creator of TechSpeak for Entrepreneurs, which is an online program where I teach the most effective and efficient ways to manage tech teams and projects, even if you're not technical or know how to code. And what's most important for you to know is that I have managed tech teams and projects for over 18 years. I've refined and optimized my process over time. And I taught my TechSpeak 10-step process to over 1,500 students so far, worked with hundreds of different startups, helping them with tech strategies and help them fix and optimize their processes. And I work a lot with non-technical entrepreneurs and underrepresented founders because I'll share with you a little bit more as we get into the presentation, because oftentimes they're non-technical and they get taken for a ride when it comes to software, whether they work with internal teams or external teams with outsourcing. So my goal is to really help two things, right? Shed the light on the possibility of how to use software as a scaling mechanism for your business. And also in the subsequent sessions that we have planned with StartOut, we're going to be talking about how you can, if this is an area you want to get into, how you can build on that knowledge of, how do you do this as a non-technical founder? How do you manage and lead a team, etc.? So that's where we're going. This is the first session. And the question I've got for you is, can you imagine what it would feel like if you could earn $5,000 to $10,000 every month in additional revenue and then scale up from there? Whether that's additional income streams from your existing business or new income stream for a parallel business, right? That it makes sense for you. I'm talking about recurring revenue every single month from work that you already do. If you're excited about that, you're in the right place, because that's exactly why I teach people about opportunities in software businesses. And today you will learn what's possible. So this is how we are structuring the program for today's session. The first thing we're going to learn is why software products make great businesses. We'll talk about requirements for building a profitable software business, and then we'll learn the different frameworks for coming up with software business ideas. So first, I'm going to tell you why you should be thinking about software, and then we'll end the session with actual frameworks. And then I want you to brainstorm some ideas. And if we have time, I'm going to give you feedback on potential ideas that you have within the business that you already have and how you can add those additional revenue streams. I'm also going to offer additional resources for those of you who are interested. And of course, we'll get into the live Q&A at the end. Okay. Let's see. How can I'm going to, where is the chat? There we go. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, but Daniel, if there is anything, and if I'm talking about something that you are totally like, you want me to repeat it, or you have a specific question about that specific thing, type your answer in the chat, but we're also a small enough group that you can maybe interrupt me. And if I don't see it in the chat, Daniel, maybe you can call it out, and I'll pause and answer your question. But I also want to keep most of the questions to the end so that once you understand the entire framework, we can ask better questions. Maybe I'll answer your question as we go. Okay, but I want you to feel free to ask questions as we are going through the presentation so that I want to clarify and make sure that you understand all the different things that are happening. Okay, so let's get started. Why are software products making such great businesses? Well, I think, hold on, there we go. The first thing is lower marginal costs for serving additional customers. So once you build software products, serving one customer or a million more typically doesn't actually increase your costs that much. Unlike traditional businesses where adding more customers means you have more production costs, more inventory costs, you need to hire more staff. Software can scale without those additional expenses. There are some additional expenses on software, but mostly on the infrastructure side, right? You don't need to hire more people to be able to scale. After your the investment into development, the cost of delivering your product to more users is almost zero. So this low marginal cost makes it easier for you to grow profitably. The second thing is ability to service a global market. Software businesses can tap into global markets almost immediately. Whether you're in New York or London, as long as your customers have internet access and a phone, right? No longer just a computer, but if they have a phone, they can use your software. And this global reach is especially powerful because you don't need to set up physical locations or deal with limitations of geography. And post-COVID, I feel like everybody is now adjusted to the work from home kind of situation. So now you have a global workforce of developers that you can hire from anywhere in the world. That's another advantage to working in software. Your product is just a download or a login away from all the users across the world. The third reason is low operational costs after the initial development. So we kind of mentioned this a little bit. After your product is built, the ongoing costs of running the software company are relatively low. You don't actually need factories, warehouses, expensive retail operations. The biggest costs are likely will be going to be tied to your cloud infrastructure, updates to your software, customer support, if you have that. But even these services will scale a lot more efficiently than physical goods or services that you provide. And because of that, you can focus more on refining and improving the product rather than managing your day-to-day operational overhead, right? So there's very little operational overhead. It's mostly how do we get our product to be good enough that people can sign up, okay? And finally, it's higher profit margins due to lower overhead in general. So because there's minimal variable costs, software businesses tend to have significantly higher profit margins compared to traditional businesses. 80% to 90% is actually not uncommon. So there's a very, very high profit margin in software businesses. So again, you don't have to worry about shipping, storage, physical goods, inventory, all of that, right? Because it's all software. A great example that I love to use is Instagram. When they reached over 1 million users, they did that with just 10 employees. Can you imagine the level of efficiency and scalability that it's almost impossible in non-software businesses? So that I use that as an example because it shows what's possible in software. So hopefully you guys are excited about about the possibility. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is that software is not just what we think are traditionally tech businesses, right? The most innovation in technology still needs to be created in traditionally non-technical industries: healthcare, real estate, construction, lawn care, barbershops, daycare, education, and the list goes on. So I'm going to give you an example of traditionally non-technical businesses and how they use technology to scale. One example that I love to use, and this was pre-COVID, before this was sexy to do. One of my students was a yoga instructor who had a successful yoga studio in New York City, and she fell into the hours trap. So she wanted to scale. She was trying to figure out how to get beyond her location. And her idea was to create a mobile app to teach parents how to do yoga with their children. And when she launched her mobile app, she instantly made her business global and created a new revenue stream for her existing business, right? Using the knowledge that she already had. And any parent who wanted to learn how to do yoga with their child could buy the app and use it. The other example is another client of mine. She is a dermatologist and she built an app to help provide her virtual consultations using her specific process. So there's a lot of tools now where you can do telemedicine, right? And she had, as a dermatologist, a very specific process for how she was taking clients, and she needed certain information, and she can diagnose things better. So she built an app that actually helped provide these virtual consultations using this specific process. And then, of course, she was able to sell that to other dermatologists who were struggling with the same problem. Sorry. Another example is a marketing consultancy. So this was another student of mine who had a marketing consulting agency and saw a very specific problem of working with nonprofits and helping them achieve better results. So that's what the specialty of the marketing consultancy was. And they had a very specific process for how they analyzed data. And using that analysis and process, they built an app that helped customers hone in their ads and creative strategy using data rather than guesswork, right? So again, they productized their expertise and were able to deliver that through a tech solution. A mom of young kids built an app that helped other parents potty train their kids in days versus months. I don't know if for those of you who have kids here, potty training is a big issue in the US now. People wait up until they're 4 years old, 3 years old, and they're struggling. So she saw the problem as a young mom, and she built an app to help parents potty train their kids. Right? These are such interesting examples that I wanted to show you that pretty much any knowledge and experience that you have or domain expertise can be turned into software. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this, before we dive into the requirements and building software and coming up with ideas, I just wanted to share why this is so important, why I'm passionate about teaching non-technical and underrepresented founders this information. It's because you will see problems in the world that Silicon Valley entrepreneurs are not interested in solving. But these problems that millions of people around the world seeking solutions to every single day. These problems are still very, very important and can impact and improve the lives of your friends, your family, your coworkers, your colleagues, your communities. And if I can show you the way that you can start to improve the world around you by using technology, do it on your own terms, and make a great living doing that, right? That would be amazing, because each one of us has specific domain expertise, a process, or a unique environment. Literally everything in your life that you have gone through puts you in a position to identify problems that could be solved and automated with software. Until I became a mom 8 years ago almost, I never knew what problems moms had uh, until I had that experience, right? And then once I became a mom, I started seeing problems everywhere. I'm like, oh, I can do this and I can do this. And why isn't there a solution for that, right? And if you struggle with something, if you see other people struggle with something, there's an opportunity there. All you have to do is open yourself up to the possibility and start paying attention to the problems and frustrations that you encounter in your daily life. What repetitive, inefficient, and highly annoying things that people are still doing manually that could save them either time or money or both. That's going to be your business idea. Solving problems that you are an expert in already works really, really well, because you already know a lot about what it takes to do that job, and it will allow you to hit the ground running instead of learning something brand new. Again, because you are already an expert in that space. So hopefully you guys are excited about the possibilities, and we're going to dive deeper into what makes a profitable business, what are the requirements for building a profitable software business, and then we'll end with actual ideas, and I'm going to help you brainstorm some ideas for potential solutions. Okay. Great. Again, if you are here, you came in late. If you have a question, feel free to just type those questions in the chat, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat about anything that you're stuck on or have additional questions on. Okay. Excellent. So the first requirement is you always have to solve a painkiller problem. It's not enough to have good ideas for products in general, right? Especially in software, because you want to be able to scale, right? You need to solve what I call painkiller problems. Every one of your ideas have to be painkiller problems and not vitamins. So what do I mean by that? I'm sure you have heard of maybe a reference. It has to be a painkiller, not a vitamin. If you have ever taken vitamins, think about that time. And if you forgot to take them one day, no big deal, right? Even if you forgot to take them for a month, not really a big deal. But imagine doing a root canal without a painkiller. Right? I use this as an example because if people just want what you're building but don't actually need it, you will always have a much harder time getting customers to use and pay for your products and services. The social network for pets falls into the vitamin category. It's a nice to have. No one actually needs it. Versus an app called Meet Edgar, which was a tool to help small business owners put their social media on autopilot. In less than a year after launching, the tool was making over $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Think about that, right? That's the difference between the vitamin versus a painkiller. And to find a painkiller problem, you have to go through a process called customer discovery. And this is simply talking to customers one-on-one, asking them very smart questions and gathering insights. Customer development is not about asking your potential customers whether they like your idea or if they will buy your product. It's about extracting information from your potential customers. It's about listening, learning, and discovering what they need, how they work, what are their pain points, and what are their highest priorities. Sometimes just getting insights from 20 to 25 people of your potential customers is enough to kind of see the level of pain that your potential user solves, potential solution. And if it doesn't solve a level 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 problem out of 10, right, it's most likely not a painkiller and it needs to be refined. So let's anchor this point. I want you to type into the chat, I will find a painkiller problem. And I use these neuro-linguistic tools to help you kind of understand and anchor some of the most important points, right? So the first thing we need to do is find a painkiller problem. This is level 12 out of 10 problems, because if you can find a painkiller problem, those are like 90% of your issues are going to be fixed. Excellent. Great. I don't actually know how many people are in the room, but do yourself a favor, at least say it out loud or type it into the chat. All right, so let's keep moving. The second thing to build, the second requirement is to have a profitable business model. Okay, so here you will see some of the ways that you can monetize a software business. You have your product, right? And all the different revenue that's come with that. You can add services to it. You can have some side revenue like ads or plugins or data or API that you sell. And we can dissect all of those if we have time. But the one thing that I love around software products is, one of my favorites business models is software as a service, also known as SaaS. So SaaS stands for software as a service, and it's simply delivering software over the web on a recurring basis. So let's go through an example so you can understand why. So you can build an app in the App Store and charge individuals, let's say $8.99 for it. The business model in this case would be business to consumer, right? So you are the business and you're selling to consumers with a one-off payment. And in order for you to get $10,000 in revenue per month, you would need 112 customers every single month, right? So that's 112 customers every single month. Or you can build an app with a subscription service and charge individuals $8.99 per month for it. So the business model in this case is business to consumer with a subscription service. And you would need 112 customers every single month to make 10K per month in our example. But these customers are not all new customers. As long as existing customers are renewing their subscriptions, then you don't really need to acquire new customers every single month to make 10K a month, right? So this business model is also known as B2C SaaS model, or software as a service, right? So SaaS stands for software as a service. Or you can also build an app with a subscription service and charge businesses or professionals $49.99 per month for it. So the business model in this case would be business to business with a subscription service. And you would need only 200 customers every single month to make 10K a month. Again, these customers are also not new customers because you have a subscription. As long as you have existing customers that are renewing their subscriptions, then you don't really need to acquire new customers every single month to make 10K a month, right? That's why understanding your revenue model and your target customers is so important to the success of your software business. Are you going after direct to consumer? Do you have a subscription service? Are you targeting businesses or enterprises? Because businesses and enterprises, you can charge a lot more money, which means you have to acquire fewer customers in order to be able to be more profitable. Make sense? All right, let's anchor that point. Type in the chat, SaaS is my new best friend. I want you to always think, whenever you're coming up with ideas, how can I make this a subscription? How can this be recurring revenue? Okay. Let's see. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes because there's always a delay. Great. Chris with a smile, SaaS is my new best friend. Absolutely. SaaS is my best friend always. All right, so let's keep moving. So another important factor you will need to figure out is how to position your product to maximize revenue. Okay, so how many of you have ever downloaded an app in the App Store? Probably most of you, right? How many of you have paid for an app in the App Store? I don't know. That's actually very questionable, because the next question I have to ask you is, how many of you thought twice before spending 99 cents for an app in the App Store? It is so irrational, but we are conditioned not to pay more than 99 cents for an app in the App Store. And that is called price anchoring. This is the psychological, phenomenon that kind of tells us that what's acceptable to pay. Like, we're conditioned to perceive a certain price point as the norm. And of course, that as a business, from a business perspective, makes it harder for us to accept higher prices. And in the case of apps, people have been anchored to expect for apps not to cost more than 99 cents, which of course influences our willingness to pay more, even when the value of the product justifies it. So it's important to position your products properly. And here is an example to illustrate this. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see this message. Oops. There we go. So, sorry, I am trying to close some extra windows here. All right, so let's talk about positioning. One of my students built a software for estate lawyers, and she wanted for them to be able to manage their process better. And the way she was selling it when she came to me was, this is TurboTax for estate planning. So I'm going to ask you, and I know this is not very, you guys can't talk back to me, but if you can, type your answer in the chat, right? What does this tell you when you hear TurboTax for estate planning? Just type in some of the ideas that come out. Yep, it's easy to use. It's simple and step-by-step. Very good. Quick way to plan, will lead me through the process. Time saver, right? All of those are right. And has access to experts if needed. Yep. What about pricing? Do you think that she could justify an expensive price, or what is your thought on pricing? On a lower time fee. Absolutely. Yes. So you kind of have been anchored that if you position yourself as a TurboTax for estate planning, you can't really charge a lot of money for that. So we were working through the positioning in our coaching call, and we started by calculating the cost based on value of her service. So this is what we did, right? This is called value-based pricing. So she would save lawyers 5 hours per client, which at $450 per hour would equal $2,250 per client, right? So that's the first thing. So we try to figure out how much money and time, and actual time equals money, right? She would save them. So that would be $2,250 per client. Plus, that extra time would allow them to take on at least 5 more clients per month, which would equal a value of $25,000, right? So she went from, it's TurboTax for estate planning, to we're optimizing your customer management process so you can make $25,000 more per month. Now, you tell me, who wouldn't pay $500 per month to save $5,000 or to make $25,000 extra per month, right? Positioning, so much easier to frame charging a lot more money when you position it that way, isn't it? So remember that you are selling a service that is delivered through technology. The best medium to deliver it will be determined based on your customer requirements. It can be delivered on a mobile app, a watch, on the web, on the chatbot, through an API, through a plugin, browser extension. In the future, we'll have VR glasses or any other new thing that comes out in the future. But you should be thinking that you're always selling a service that will be delivered through technology. Does that make sense? With that, we'll anchor that point. Type into the chat, I love value-based pricing. Okay, value-based pricing is going to change how much you can charge and, of course, maximize your revenue in a software business. I love that. Okay. Excellent. So let's keep moving. Finally, the fourth and most important requirement is to find a big enough market who has the problem that you want to solve and would be willing to buy and pay for your solution. So how much market share do you actually need? And in order to answer that question, you must answer these two questions. What are your business goals? And what does success look like for you? What does success look like for you? Are you going to be happy with 5K a month, 10K a month, 50K a month, 100K a month, more, right? How big do you want your company to get? And unlike the Silicon Valley companies, you don't actually need a lot of customers to make good money. Silicon Valley companies want big market share. They want to raise a lot of money to acquire that market share and to support the big team infrastructure and everything that's required to grow ginormous. But who says that a high growth company has a better outcome for the founder, right? You can live an amazing life and be just as rich because you own so much more of the business that is cash flow rich. So based on your answer to these two questions, you will have an idea on how big the market needs to be for you to build a profitable business, right? Because if you just want to make an additional $2 million a month of cash flow, you can anchor on that and figure out what you need and how many customers you need and what your market should be, how big your market should be in order to be in that price range versus you want to have a $300 million exit, right? It's a whole different strategy. In terms of how much market share do you need? Does that make sense? So type in the chat, software businesses is a great and exciting opportunity. And we will then go into the actual idea frameworks next. So hopefully with these 4 points, I kind of got you excited about looking at software businesses as an opportunity, because there's many different ways to build software. You don't have to sacrifice your life, like the stories that we're seeing, lose your families to build a really profitable business. And software actually makes it easier to scale possibly what you are already doing. Okay. All right, so let's keep moving. Frameworks for coming up with software business ideas. The first framework is how can you scale your existing skills, your domain expertise, and offerings with technology. So I'm going to show you some examples to illustrate how you can be thinking about this. And then, of course, we'll do a brainstorming session, and then hopefully we'll have some time it looks like we will, to actually maybe do some live brainstorming as well. Okay, so the first example is a flower shop owner who focused on wedding flower arrangements. She heard lots and lots of her customers complain about how hard it was to find good vendors and track the process of working together. So her solution was to build an application that connected consumers to wedding vendors and one central system where all of the vendor activities could be tracked. And that was really an amazing idea that she actually raised money for. A consultant ran a web development agency. They had lots and lots of different types of design and development projects, but didn't have enough consistent revenue. So they came up with a better way to outsource their graphic design service through a subscription model. Customers were billed a flat monthly rate, regardless of how many design projects they would submit, and they were assigned a designer to work on one project at a time until they complete the work. And with this business model, they were able to grow to more than $250,000 in recurring revenue per month, right? So they just took whatever they were already doing and put it on the subscription service. They put some guardrails about what is inside that subscription service, but now customers knew exactly what they would get, and they tapped into a different type of customer that didn't actually cannibalize their existing business, and were able to create a new revenue stream for that. And of course, they built the technology to help them manage that whole thing. Okay, so that's how they were delivering. And the next example, I want to play a video for you. Soul Savvy is one of my favorite examples of what could be done with just a passion. Okay, so I'm going to play a video for you. And hopefully the sound is going to work, but
the sneaker game.
Just confirm in the chat that you can hear the audio here. Okay,
it's tough.
Excellent.
If you're in it alone, getting the latest pair of hype sneakers is becoming increasingly difficult these days. As soon as you try to purchase, the shoe is out of stock. If you want to improve your skills, you need to learn the tricks of the trade. And here's how. Soul Savvy is an exclusive sneaker community that provides you with the tools and resources you need to be at the top of your game. 1, Sneaker Monitors. We monitor hundreds of websites and instantly notify you about new drops straight to your account. With a direct add to cart link, simply choose your size and you're on your way to copping. And no matter where you are, you can always stay up to date. 2, Discounts. You will gain access to exclusive coupons and promotions that will help you save money. 3, Exclusive Info. As a member, you will be the first to know everything there is to know about early links, shock drops, and release information. 4, Courses. We will teach you how to improve your online skills and how to beat sneaker bots. Each release includes unique preparation to help you cop. And last but not least, our community. You will be part of a lively and caring family that has the same passion for sneakers you do, far away from resellers. Be smart and get equipped with the right tools and information you need to help you cop the sneakers you want. Soul Savvy.
So I love this example because they built up a community. They proved that there was a need for this thing. Like, who knew that sneakerheads was a thing, right? I didn't know. I'm like shocked every time I think about it. But the founders were experts. They had so much domain expertise that they decided that they are going to organize these people. They were charging them money to be a part of this community. They built a bunch of tools based on the community needs once they had them. And they actually raised a 2 million seed round at some point after that, right? So just because you start out small, maybe initially, it doesn't mean that you can't go the venture route eventually if you want to build a ginormous business. But they were making a lot of money on a very specific domain expertise that you only if you were in that world knew about. Okay. Next example is a PR consultant who was running her own PR agency and was looking for a solution to make her team more efficient. And when she couldn't find what she was looking for, she actually created. So this solution was a software product called Prowly, and it was a PR and media relations management software, which she then sold to SEMrush eventually. Right. So she solved the problem for her own agency, and then she knew that other people and other agencies could use the same solution. And so she then started a separate business doing that. Okay. Here's another example, a recent example of one of my members, or one of my students, I should say. She was a mother who became a full-time caregiver to her son who was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and she found out firsthand how frustrating and isolating that experience was for caregivers. And so she met a lot of caregivers, she interviewed with a lot of caregivers and found out that she wasn't alone. And then she developed an AI buddy to give informational, legal, and emotional support to caregivers. This was a tool, again, tech tool to a solution that only she got a glimpse then at a certain point in her life. So think through. So that's just this is the first framework. The second framework is to think through how you can automate a personal process with technology, either to make yourself more efficient or to make other people more efficient and effective. And so when I say that, is you can build a tool that then you can sell to other people, but sometimes building technology internally for your own people to manage your own process is actually going to make you 10 times more efficient. And that will actually allow you to scale your business because you have to hire fewer people to do the same job. You can take on more clients, etc. Right? So there's two different ways that you can go about this. You can build a tool for yourself that you productize your own process to help you manage your business more efficiently and not to sell it to outsiders. But you can also build a tool for yourself and then decide to sell it to outsiders as well. Okay. So let's go through some examples. A house inspection service provider built an app that helps inspectors conduct and log inspections with ease, and he was able to build a SaaS solution doing that. A realtor who saw inefficiencies in the real estate market built a bit and his idea was to build an app that would save other realtors a lot of time and make them more efficient at their jobs. So this is funny. He actually did customer discovery, which we talked about, while he was working on the job. He then took some of those ideas for possible solutions. He built a clickable prototype of the solution. He took this clickable prototype, not a working product, to a real estate agency who just happened to be the real estate company he worked for. And he was able to sign them on as a customer and got paid in advance to actually build it. Right? So there's like all these things, like once you find a painkiller idea, you can get paid in advance. You can get letters of intent. There's so many different things that you can do to actually pre-sell your product if you find the right opportunity. Okay. We are building, I have another client in the real estate space, and they process applications with the government. They have customers being able to do that. So before they build the technology in-house to make them more efficient, they were doing everything manually. It used to take them days to be able to process all the documents that they needed to help customers get whatever applications that they needed to buy houses and whatever else, right? And so they built an internal tool for themselves and then 10x their revenue simply because they became much more efficient with processing documents. Okay. Now, that's okay. So now we are going to go through and actually come up and brainstorm with ideas. And I want you to understand that each one of you has specific domain expertise, a process, or a unique environment, which puts you in a good position to identify the problems that could be solved with automated software, right? So let's go through and start brainstorming. And I think we have some time. Write down 3 to 5 ideas, and we can go through and maybe go through some of those ideas as well if you have some extra time, or I don't know, Daniel, how do you want to do it? Do you guys have extra time? Can you stay an extra 5 minutes?
We can push an extra 5 minutes on our end.
Okay, great. So let's do that. So let's think about this and write down some 3 to 5 business ideas. And also raise your hand if you have any questions that you'd like to ask as well, just so that we can understand where we are. Okay, great. So we still have some time. And if you'd like to share, once you let me actually, and then I'll share my presentation again, just so that I can see everybody. If you'd like to share one of your ideas and have me look at it and brainstorm with you, just raise your hand and unmute yourself, and then we can have a quick conversation about it, and then we can finish up the presentation. I'll give everybody about a minute to work on it, and then we'll see if anybody wants to share. Okay. Chris, Gabriella, Andrea, or Daniel, do you guys want to share an idea that you wrote down? Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I guess I could take up my video on this new computer. I can't access my camera, sorry. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so I'm a product designer, and I have often worked for small businesses, and I know that they are often clueless about design issues. So I had this idea that I could hook them in with like a one-click sort of instant web design audit button, right? Which could, you know, give them advice, just spit out some advice based on things that I put in there and AI, based on what their business goals are. And that could drive them to my agency services, or it could drive them to getting a more advanced tool that maybe captures some customer feedback or something like that. That was the one that I was kind of thinking about.
Yep. So that's it's a great lead generation solution, right? So when you're thinking about business ideas, right, it's important to understand what is the purpose. If it's going to be, it sounds like it's going to be a free tool, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So if it's a free tool, oftentimes the value doesn't have to come from the money, because the money can come on the back end. So I like how you're thinking, but you need to understand, like, what is the purpose of this? So we talked about what is the goal, how much money am I going to make on this, and if the investment, the time investment and the money investment in order to build this tool is actually going to support the additional revenue into your agency business, right? That would justify the cost of that. And then, of course, you need to do a lot of the things that we're going to talk about next time on how do you actually bring your idea to life. You have to do a lot of customer discovery to understand who do you push this to, right? Who is the target market and all that stuff, and how would you sell it to them, maybe pre-sell the idea, etc.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Very cool. Thank you, Chris, for sharing. I know it's a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes.
I wish I could turn my video on. Sorry. It's just
Oh,
messed
that's
up here.
okay. Gabriella or Andrea, do you guys want to share? Or do you have a question about anything that we talked about? Go ahead, just unmute yourself.
Hi. So basically I run a company called TextTeddy. We have an app that's in the App Store. It's our MVP. And we're solving the pain point that when everybody gets recommendations and word of mouth suggestions, it's hard to remember. So basically we created an app called Teddy. It's an app you can text for overwhelmed people who want to remember things on the fly. In particular, media recommendations like TV shows, movies, books, podcasts. And ultimately, we're creating a potential social network based around shared interests and genuine connections based on elevated interests. We help people figure out where to stream, for example, what to stream, and be able to figure out more quickly and easier what they want to watch, read, and listen to.
Okay. So is there, what's the additional, like, what's the question that you have?
The
is this
question
about-
I
is-
have is actually about scaling the AI part of it.
Mhm.
So basically we have an automated tool where you can text Teddy things you want to remember. Everything goes in the app. So the onus is on him to be your memory bank instead of having to, write stuff on a piece of paper you're going to forget or take a screenshot you'll never find again. So my question is, right now it's automated and we are assessing ChatGPT and Google Gemini to do the AI integration. And I guess my question was, as we're testing out different cohorts of the automated version, the new AI version, I was wondering if you have any suggestions on, customer A/B testing.
Well, a lot of the models that are out there right now don't have the memory capacity. So I think that you should be thinking through how are you going to solve that problem, right? Because it's not just about recording it, it's about really understanding. So AI is really good in real-time chat, right? Like it's really good in like, here's my problem, help me figure it out, because there is no memory capacity. And a lot of the people who are solving problems within the space, they actually have a data source that they're building up that can actually help retrieve the information when you need it, right? And so that is probably the way. I mean, I know very little about your tool, but that's what I would think about in terms of like, how do I solve for the memory issue? Because you don't have it with AI, which is why a lot of the solutions right now, until they figure that out, are real-time conversations. And then it forgets, like, even if, right, even if you come back to it 10 hours later, it already doesn't remember the conversation that you had, only the data that you fed it. And so then it continuously refers to that data. That is the memory bank with custom GPTs, for example. But otherwise, there is no, like, you have to create that memory bank.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you, Nelly.
You're welcome. Gabriella, I don't know if you want to share anything. Let me wrap up the presentation and then we can continue with the questions. So for any of you who are interested, I have a lot of free resources on my website, techspeak.co. There is how to build an MVP without a technical co-founder. For those of you who are interested in that, product development costs, issues, we can just find those classes online. And then we're also launching a TechSpeak accelerator, a 10-week accelerator where I would help, if this is something that you're interested in, help you within 10 weeks to actually help you validate the idea, learn the tech process, and really understand what is it that you're going to pitch and build in just 10 weeks. And for those of you who already have an MVP, they focus on optimizing the process, which can save a lot of, up to 50% on your product development costs. So if that's of interest to you, go check out the resources, and of course, contact me if I can be helpful in any way. So with that, let's see if there's any additional questions, and if not, then we can wrap the session up.
Fantastic, Nelly. Thank you so much for this session. This was a lot of fun and a lot of really good examples. I do love my sassy friend. This is what I'm going to call my new best friend. They're very sassy. As we close this out, if there are any additional questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, or feel free to unmute. We do have 2 additional sessions coming up with Nelly. There's a document that's linked in the chat. It has the links to the RSVP for the upcoming event, and as we pass the event, we will include the recording. So I would bookmark that Google Doc, and that'll be an opportunity for you to find these resources afterwards. But if we do not have any other questions, I'm happy to end the session now. Again, Nelly, thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for our attendees, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Start Out event.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.